So here we have a new 2023 Nissan Maxima. And this one comes in my favorite trim, the SR. And this is in the beautiful pearl white tricoat. And then our interior consists of charcoal leather along with that Alcantara insert there. And then the powertrain consists of a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 mated to that Xtronic transmission. And that gets us 300 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque. So coming to this beautiful front end here, we do have LED headlamps along with LED daytime running lights and fog lights. And I just love that gloss black, how it goes with that pearl white. It just looks fantastic, it really does. And then what would it be without these premium 19-inch aluminum wheels? And we do get passive keyless entry on the front two doors. And then over here we have the controls for our memory seats. Our driver and front passenger get one-touch auto up and down windows. And then we have power windows for the back, power door lock, window lock, and then do that to either side and you can adjust the mirrors there. And then we also get a Bose sound system, cup holder there, little pocket there. I'm gonna turn this on. And then here we have our driver's seat, power with power lumbar support. Now before we check out the rear seat, let's go ahead and take a look at this window sticker here. These are gonna be all of your standard features that come on the SR. Then we just have a few added options, but we sticker right at $45,525. And a big shout out to John Roberts Nissan for allowing me to review this Maxima today. So let's see if we can fit in here. So this is gonna be my leg room here. And of course I have the seat in front of me adjusted for someone of my size. And it is leaned back quite a bit, but a lot of that has to do with, because this has a moonroof, that's how much headroom I have. So I need all the space I can get. So if my legs weren't so long and I weren't so tall, I could lean this seat back a little bit more, but I'm literally, my hair is touching the ceiling back here. And then here we have rear AC vents, and we have a USB-C and USB-A charge port there. But one thing I will say about the Maxima is it really does have its own niche market as well. If you want something that just looks great and you're not really worried about having super big people in, cup holders there and little storage, I definitely recommend it because they just look fantastic, and the insides really do feel futuristic even with that outdated radio. So for this gas cap here, we can just press this, open it up. Of course, premium is recommended for maximum performance. But trunk space is pretty good. It's a huge size there. And then you can even fold the seat down, which I'll demonstrate that. But then you also have your hooks here to hang bags or whatever. But I love this rear end here, just a really nice look. Dual exhaust, that black spoiler, this is the way to go, I think, if you're gonna look at a Maxima, really any car. This is one of the best looking cars on the market. And then you can fold the seat flat in front of you for the most part, almost flat, but where the seats kind of go that way, they don't really go all the way down. But you can run longer objects through there if you need to. And then you can just fold it back into place till it clicks. There it is. And then here's our front passenger seat, which also has power And I love the door panels on the SR. I love that orange accent. It really does help the rest of the interior pop. But the styling on the Maxima is just fantastic. So if you have to suffer a little bit of headroom, if it were me, I would definitely do it if I didn't have a kid sitting behind me. Because the good thing is you can adjust the seat really far, I guess relatively, depending on how tall you are, but then there's really no room behind that front row. And it's mostly covered up, but there's that 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. Now let's hop in the driver's seat. Now we do have a nice heated steering wheel here. We kind of have that leather Alcantara going on. And I really like that. I love the overall look of it too. Like, this feels sporty. And then over here to the radio, we get AM, FM, XM along with Bluetooth audio and aux input, a CD player, and we get wired Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto compatibility too. So pretty much anything that you would want other than a tape player in here. Then we have our settings here. We can go through that. All of those features. There's our home page, and of course we can configure that as we see fit. And there are all of our XM options there, so you can add a stock and watch that while you're driving if you're into that. And there's our navigation screen. There's a backup camera with 360 view, and as I turn the steering wheel, the lines will follow me to show me where I'm headed. And then down here we have dual zone automatic climate control, so I can just hit the dual button there when applicable, and then go ahead and change the temperature if I want to. So of course you can't be in the defrost mode, and then it'll let you change that, whether it's at the feet or the face. I always forget that, but you can adjust temperature for either side there, and then you can just turn it off by hitting the button, and then you can set it back to sync there. And then down here, that's where your USB-C, USB-A, and aux input are hidden, excuse me. And then you have a little storage in there. And then for your shifter, you just hit the lever here, pull down, reverse, neutral, drive, and you can slap over here and manually shift your modes, and then it'll show up at the bottom there as you shift. And then this here is not my favorite, but, well, it's really just, I don't like it in the nav mode, but in regular mode, I actually like how it works, just being able to scroll through everything and then toggle it. It makes pretty good sense for the most part. And then of course you have a shortcut for the map, home, and then a back button, and then you can zoom in here and kind of adjust that as you see fit. And then we can toggle our traction control off, and then we have a sport mode here we can toggle for the car. And then here we have 3-stage heated cooled seats for the front 2 seats. Put that on stage 1. And then over here we have our center console cubby space, which is not huge, but it is usable. You have a 12 volt in there, a little pocket down there, and then 3 little change pockets there. And then for our twin panel moonroof, you can one-touch slide the front about that far back, and you can one-touch close it as well. And I just always like the twin panel moonroof look. Just looks really good in my opinion. And there's a view of the back seat from up here. And we do have a lockable glove compartment here, which is actually pretty usable. As you can see, there's a light all the way back there. You can throw anything in there if you want. Nice and long. And then back to the steering wheel, we can adjust our gauge cluster using these arrows here. And we can go through our volume and then our track list or radio station presets here. Just to show you that. Depending on what source we're in, we can toggle the source between AM, FM, XM, and then aux, and then when Bluetooth is set up, we can do that, etc. Now to the right side of the steering wheel, we can turn on that adaptive cruise, and then of course we can hold it to put it just in a regular cruise mode, and then toggle back and forth that way. And we have voice recognition controls here, and then the gap adjust for the adaptive cruise there, and then we can set it, speed up, slow down based on that. And what I always like, even though it's not a traditional transmission, I love these paddle shifters. They just look good, feel good, and just fun to use. Here's a last look at the gauge cluster there. Push button start. And finally, here's our key fob with remote start. But on to the fun part. Next, let's go ahead and take this 23 Maxima SR out on the road for a quick test drive. Wow, this isn't even a sport mode, just super quick off the line. Now, one thing I will say, especially when this car is cold, having those thinner tires, it does not like to ride smoothly. But as you start to heat the tires up, it usually wants to play ball. And of course, in the Maxima, really, I don't know why they put a back seat in this car, because I have the seat about as back as far as it'll go, because that's how I like to drive a car like this. The windshield's really skinny. I just feel like I need all of this space to really feel this car. But I just love the 3.5 they put in here. And honestly, even though it's a CVT, I just like how this car drives much better than any other, like the Altima, the Sentra, the Versa, all of those that have CVTs in them. I just don't like how they drive. Even the Infinities that have CVTs, I don't like. But the quote-unquote Xtronic transmission in here is really, it's just different. I don't know if it's tuned differently or whatever, but it does not irritate me to drive this like the other vehicles that have CVTs in them from Nissan. And I think a lot of that comes from the lack of lag in this V6. So having a CVT and an Infinity with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, you're feeling lag from the engine itself, from the turbo, and then also lag from the transmission. Just doesn't fit well together, in my opinion. But in this, I don't have a problem with the CVT. It still sounds like a CVT, but I don't know, it's just something about Maximas. And of course, I'm feeling every bump here, but it really doesn't bother me. And the road noise is rather prevalent, but wind noise is not bad, at least at 50 miles per hour. But I'm excited to put this in sport mode and use these paddle shifters getting on the interstate. Because the Maxima, even with the CVT, I think where the Xtronic shines and why this thing only gets 20 miles per gallon city, 30 highway, is where most CVTs from Nissan are meant to keep you from really using the engine, this Xtronic is just like, give it to me, I'm ready. And the paddles are just kind of fun to use to mimic shifts in a sense. I mean, they still do their thing, don't get me wrong, it's just not, it's just, I feel like it's not right using paddle shifters with a CVT. But I give Nissan a pass for putting on this Maxima because they are fun, but that's the only CVT that has paddle shifters that's any fun. And of course the Camry, it's only fun using the paddle shifters with the traditional 8-speed transmission. So I'm glad they didn't put a CVT in there yet. I have it in sport mode now, and I'm gonna put it into this manual mode. And I will say the quote-unquote shifts in this car are very quick. So I'm gonna give it a little throttle here. Yeah, they're just fun to use. I have a little bit of space here. I mean, just really quick. I'm glad I was able to show you all that. This thing is not slow at all. And that's why they call these things the, well, some people call it the baby GTR. Of course, the twin turbo Q50 is usually what people think of, but there's a reason that this car kind of has that same feel to it. And there's our fuel economy. There's that 30 miles per gallon we're supposed to get on the highway. And there's the adaptive cruise control slowing me down to keep this distance. I'm gonna try and get over. So I'm gonna take it out of sport mode now. But it's nice to get an exhilarating feel from a Nissan vehicle other than a GTR. And that's really what the Maxima gives you. And the VC turbos are decent in the Altimas, even with their CVTs, but there's just nothing like driving this Maxima. The sound you get from the exhaust, just the overall like feel of a sports car in the cabin. Like I said, other than the GTR, this is the best you can get in my opinion. But this will bring me to the end of my review of the new 2023 Nissan Maxima SR.